Hey, everyone. Welcome to the It's All Good Show. Today is a sub podcast of the It's All Good Show under the umbrella of Psychedelics as Medicine, and it is called the DMT Chronicles. My guest today, this afternoon, it depends because actually he's 15 hours later in a time zone than I am here in the United States. My guest is a person that I seriously bonded with in 2011 at Burning Man in the Nevada desert. And we've just stayed in touch over time. And we realized when I put a post online about the DMT Chronicles that we even had more in common than we may have thought. His name is Kol Wannigman, and he is coming to us from the Philippines, from an undisclosed location in the Philippines. Uh, and it's we were trying to figure out where we first initially met prior to Burning Man 2011, and we couldn't quite figure it out, which is fascinating. But then we also talked about how timelines are changing and we're jumping from one to another and this and that. So it doesn't surprise me that we couldn't quite figure it out. But Kol, welcome to the DMT
Yo,
Chronicles, brother. I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm happy to be here from the future.
Actually, yeah, you are. You are 15 hours ahead. It's like
Yeah.
it's it's evening in southeastern Idaho where I'm at, and it is 15 hours later. So just the beginning of your day in the Philippines. I understand you're going to go kite surfing later today. So this is a
Kiteboarding,
nice,
yeah.
fun kiteboarding. Nice experience for you to have before you get to do that. Now, when I posted that I was looking for people to share their experiences with DMT and everything, you sent me a Facebook message, and it was obvious that you have had some really powerful experiences, and not just with NN-DMT, but with 5-MeO-DMT, Bufo, and also with ayahuasca. And so we've got plenty of time here. We just kind of want to turn it over to you and let you take us where you'd like to take us and share what you'd like to share with us. So take it away, Kol.
Awesome. Well, fun. Okay. I could do it more like chronologically, maybe is the easiest. I had such a profound experience with it, and I think even before I had tried it, I like heard about it. I was interested in it. I had read the spirit molecule. I thought it was so wild that like it's released most when we're born, most when we die. It's actually the roof of the mouth that moves up into the center of the brain, which is the most protected spot in the whole body. And just the whole sacredness behind it was really fascinating to me. And as I was growing older, I think I had like a start of my spiritual awakening, actually, the first time I smoked ganja, because it was the first time I felt connected to nature and I like loved myself. And I started realizing like everyone said weed was like this bad thing and you're going to lose your mind. But I just feel happy and I feel like God is communicating with me and nature is speaking to me. And my heart feels good about being me for the first time in my life. And I started to realize, okay, I need to seek truth for myself. I can't allow others to define what truth is. And so that started kind of my journey of unfoldment. And I actually, normally when I try any kind of new substance, I really set up like a spiritual container. I set an intention. But I was kind of with a buddy of mine who parties in a very different way. And I think it was like one of these nights we were just like, we were partying and he was like, we should try DMT. And I was like, no, I really think that we should be like sober and we should do it in this spiritual way. He's like, no, that's not how you want to do it. Trust me. You want to be a little drunk so you don't really feel any of the initial things coming on and you're going to blast off. So don't even worry about it. Like you don't even need an intention. God's going to hand you over or something. And so I remember being resistant, but being like, all right, let's try it. And the first time I didn't really like, I don't know. It's a new thing. I think I was nervous. It's like the first time you smoke weed, you don't really inhale it. So then he's like, oh, It felt like I was about to rocket ship out of Earth's, just sit there with my thoughts. Like, what am I supposed to be feeling? What's going on? And it was really interesting to me to have that kind of blockage. And so I kind of remember holding that for a while because I was really interested in this specific chemical and how it interacts with the brain. And it wasn't until like 8 months, maybe 10 months later, I was at a different festival and this guy had this tinfoil with like a wet mushroom cap. And he's like, oh, we should try this new kind of like psychedelic mushroom. I'm like, are you sure that's psychedelic? He's like, yeah. And he just like broke me off a piece. And I remember eating it thinking, okay, this is kind of weird. And about 45 minutes later, I didn't have a mushroom trip. I had what I would call like almost like a lucid DMT. Like it wasn't like I blasted out of the stratosphere. It was like I was here present on Earth, but I could like start to see almost like the geometric structure of reality happening. And I could feel almost like a Donnie Darko beam of energy guiding me around. And it was almost as if like I could just like let go and just kind of be guided, and my body would just find, and I'd meet this person and we'd have this insane interaction, and then I'd come over here and I'd meet this person and it'd be another synchronicity. And it was like I could do no wrong so long as I released. But if I like struggled to fight it, something would be out of alignment. Like I remember one time it kept saying, look down, look down, look down. And I'm like, no, the show's up here, the concert's up here. And finally it's like, look down. And I look down and my wallet's on the ground. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I put my wallet back in my bag. I'm like, how the heck did that happen? And so I'm sitting there just kind of having this lucid, half in life, half in my head. And I started realizing this like interconnectivity of everything. And I was like, I like to test things a lot. Like the first time I learned about God, I tested God. And then I'm like, no, you're not supposed to test God. I'm like, well, nobody told me that. I can get away with it. So immediately I'm like trying to just tweak reality. And I remember it got the biggest point of it is I was like, well, I could probably then influence the whole crowd. So I was like, what's influencing the crowd is the music. So let me just turn the music down. And it was like, as soon as I had the thought, it was like, do, 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 do. And like they started playing really softer and slower. And I noticed this like high vibe, dancey energy just started becoming like mellow. People were kind of just standing there now. And you could feel literally the whole container of this big party just go, wow. And I was like, nah, that's not very good. I'm going to crank that back up. And it was like, it was so instantaneous with my thoughts. And it felt like this total power of creation. And so then like I went back to where it was and I was like, now let's really rock it. Run at it. And it was just every time, as soon as the thought was there and as soon as the intention was there, it was in real life happening. And so that was kind of my first thing. I even had this like, just to dabble at the end, there was a resistance at the end. I was coming back to my tent to meet my friends, and there was like this bush there, and I remember being like, I can't figure out a way around this. Like, where is the hole? And there's a voice that says you have to ask for help. And instead of just being like, hey guys, where are you? I can't see very well in the dark. I was like, no, I can't ask for help. No, I have to be, independent. And so I remember like guiding myself back to my tent. And then like I laid down and my camel pack leaked and I got wet and I was freezing cold. And it was like this really like huge lesson for me. Like when the universe says ask for help, you ask for help, especially when you're in a space of such deep clarity and interconnectivity. So again, it's like, those lessons like, man, I really wish I just like would have called to my friends, but I probably needed the lesson more. So that's not even like that was like my DMT experience, but not when I took DMT. I felt like it activated when I took it like 10 months ago. And so then it was another, probably a couple years before I actually got to try the real stuff, which I got blessed with like the synthetic version. Do you know that it was like in one of those packs where the back is silver and the front is clear and it has like the actual molecule and dimethyltryptamine, like the whole thing written out. Like it
Like
was
from a research lab or something. Like,
yeah, it looked like it was straight from a research lab. And I remember that was just like an amazing experience because it was the best way I've ever heard it described is I got to sit with God, but I couldn't stay. And so the cool thing that I really like about this substance is you take this and you hold it and you hold it and you hold it. And all of a sudden you lay back and what should feel like an exhale feels to me like it's a continuous inhale. So when I'm on it, it doesn't ever feel like I exhale. It feels like I just continuously inhale. And um, I'm I blast through straight through the stratosphere. Like that's the way I like to enjoy it. Is just gone. And apparently, for the people that are still here on Earth, I'm like, and I'm just like screaming my head off, and it sounds like I'm flying a million miles an hour. And I remember just like the person I was with, I was like grabbing their hair and like, oh my God. Like I was just full power because I was so ecstatic that to like learn the truth, like feel the truth, experience the truth, like realize that there is no death, that we're here like living this finite experience of an infinite wave of complete, infinite, unconditional, indescribable, universal bliss. It's like every cell is orgasming, but not in a sexual way, in like a million times better way. It's like all the particles of you just like disintegrate back into this like spirit of like bliss, like this really, really cool experience. And I think about all the things that I'm dealing with so I can kind of get like little answers, little hits about this and this and that. So whatever I'm going through, it's like, oh wow, I see how that was actually a lesson for this. And I had a lot of resistance to a lot of negativity that had happened in my life, a lot of trauma, but I saw like, oh, I'm here for something bigger and I need to be able to be relatable. And there is a lot of suffering and darkness in the world. So I need to be able to hold that for people if I'm gonna, be a healer or be here to give people some medicine myself. And so it's like starting to feel that interconnectivity. And when I came back, I remember the first like my friend was like, "Okay, tell me what happened. What was your experience? You need to speak as soon as you can because it'll start to dissolve." And it did. It was like, I know everything. I can't even remember one thing. It's like your brain gets so expanded and so wide, and you could like answer any question ever, and then it just kind of like starts sizzling and dissolving back into like this like human. And I remember I just being like, "So that's it, right?" And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "That's what happens when we die. Like there's no need to ever fear death. That's that's what we have to look forward to." And I'd say the only side effect that I've ever had from that that's negative is like I've had less of a like that strong desire. I have to live. I have to be here. I have to like do these things. It's been a lot of suffering throughout my life even since then. And I've been very easily like, God, do I even need to be here? Like, what if I just set myself free and I'm back there? It's like that. I got to sit with God, but I couldn't stay because for me, it's almost like I've been so cerebral my whole life trying to figure out this co-creation of reality. Like, where is my influence? What's the influence happening to me? Where can I, mess with it? That's why I got my bachelor's in psychology and master's in like biological psychology or neuroscience. Like, not just why the human acts the way he or she does, but like what neuron is firing in which hemisphere to synthesize them thinking that they're acting of their own volition, but really just like program. And how much can we influence that program and bend the matrix? How much can we really bend the spoon? And so I had thought the first time I went there, like I did it, I had thought the right thought to finally set my spirit free, and I was done. So then coming back down was like, oh man, I'm back here. So again, integration is always the big key with this stuff. Is like, how can I take the lessons? What can I use? Like, what's one thing I could take back and implement in daily life so I don't get so down? I've had a very like mental highs and lows. I go through these waves in life. And so, I'll get, when I do it, it gives me so much clarity and certainty and like, I feel so good again. But if I don't have a good base to integrate or people that know how to integrate, I kind of just like, again, it kind of just dissolves back and I end up back in my old program.
So, what has your integration experience included? Have you had the right people showing up for you to kind of hold space for you to, traverse the experience and what it means for you?
Yeah, it took a little bit longer. So I went to the military, I went to college. I kind of hadn't gotten another real opportunity to try it. I mean, one time, I think when I was at university, this guy had more of an organic version. And that one was kind of cool just because, and I'm only getting to the integration in a second, but that one was just interesting because in that experience, I sort of blast off, but most of the time I kind of stayed in the person's house because I was blasting off and they'd be like, hey, you can't be screaming. And I was like, oh, so they'd kind of like wake me up and then I'd like drift back into it. So I was in this in between state. And I remember all of a sudden, I could hear this person thinking. They were in the kitchen, they were doing this. I could hear them being like, oh, I don't like this song. And then going over and changing the song. And it's just like, wow, like it shows you that it's just all frequency, it's just all energy. And when we change our frequency, we can tap into that. So I'm actually hearing his thoughts, like, and I'm actually able to send him thoughts. I remember at one point I was like, maybe I can influence it. And I said something, and then he did something different immediately. He like looked at me and he's like, wait, what's going on? But it wasn't until so that was like the one time in between. But then later, I was gifted a Bufo experience as a veteran from this like church in Southern California. And they really showed me how to do like an integration and show up every week and like talk about our experiences and then like create some more structures of like remembrance. So for me, in the process of all this and in my unfolding, I went to hypnotherapy school. I got my certificate in NLP. I was really working on this fundamental aspects of reality and what we can control and influence, at least at a bare minimum, changing our own rose tinted glasses to maybe rainbow color, one that, if we can choose our beliefs and those beliefs will actually change what we're experiencing in real life, why wouldn't we choose the most highest, fulfilling, safe, nourishing, wonderful beliefs possible? Because we don't know what's real, but if we believe in it, it does become real. So I started just getting all these high-fi beliefs. I'm always protected and taken care of by some spiritual force that loves me unconditionally and wants me to do good. And every time I'm struggling, but it's hard when you're struggling to remember that because it doesn't feel good and you're like suffering. And so that was one of the main lessons from that experience. And I'll kind of try to see if I can tap into how I integrated it. Was that like, so I take this Bufo and it was by far the best ever DMT experience. They say that one is like the true spirit molecule. And I believe it because for some reason it just felt more pure. It felt more sacred. It felt like I was reading this ancient text. And as soon as I got through the text, I had like said the right code. So instead of the thought, for some reason, I was like, it was like an ancient manuscript that was in my hands that was like coded for me. And as soon as I said it, boom, I liberated myself. And now I'm up there. And it was like, I don't really see like entities. I read in the book that a lot of people have these like alien forces that show them things or touch them or interact with them. For me, it's more just like I can sense these like spiritual family. And I was like back at the table with them. And they were like, oh, you're here. Oh my gosh, you've been doing so good. We love you. We support you, man. Wasn't that a little crazy thing? And so then I try to like use my head to be like, well, if this is real, then what about this? And then how about this? And I'd ask just a million questions. And every time they'd give me an answer, it was just like so obvious that was the answer. And it wasn't the answer necessarily that I thought I would get. Sometimes it's like, but that's the fun of life is not knowing, right? If we told you, then you wouldn't be having any fun learning and experiencing it. And so sometimes the answer would be more like, I see, right. Like, I don't really want the answer to that. You're right. Okay, let's keep going. And so I remember the main focus I had was suffering and why I'm suffering so much. And like, I was fighting the truth that suffering was optional. And so every time I would fight it, they would show me, or the medicine would show me, however it was, No, you're right. Okay, it is optional there. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And my brain is really good at that. Like a lot of times people think I'm argumentative, but it's just because I'm trying to get to the deeper truth. And they think I'm arguing with them or challenging them when really I'm just challenging whatever idea is being expressed in the moment to see if we can get to something more substantial, more rooted. And so I'm doing that with these spirits, and they love it, right? They're not like having any ego or issues or thinking I'm challenging them. They're just like, oh yeah, what about this? Oh, okay, you're right. Oh, what about this? So we're having this almost like dialogue with like this ancient family that I've known way more and that actually support me and that actually show up for me and that actually love me unconditionally and that actually are like touching me. And I always remember like when I'm there, I feel like there's just like this on the Bufo, at least, not on DMT so much, but on the Bufo, I just always remember feeling like there was all this touch and support that I never got as a kid. You know, I never got that like motherly love. And I get here and it's just like this whole family just like, yeah, yeah. Um, but I fought it, I fought it, I fought it, I fought it, I fought it. And finally, there was no more fighting it. It was 100% factual. Suffering is 100% optional. And I'm coming back at that moment, back into my body, drifting back in. And it was almost as soon as I hit my body, this voice from heaven, in only a God fashion, shouts out, but highly encouraged. And it was the cosmic laugh, the cosmic laugh. Every time I take any form of DMT, there's always this cosmic laugh, almost like at the very beginning, like, oh my God, all my problems and all my things and issues, and I've been so concerned about it. And it's just, it's hilarious to God because God knows this path, God knows this where you're going, what you chose, why you're here, and why you asked these angels or these entities not to interfere because of this growth and this lesson and this suffering that you intrinsically wanted. And I've thought about that like in infinite time, 1 second is an eternity because a lot, at least for me, I feel exhausted by life. Like I felt like if I die, I'm gonna wait a really long time to reincarnate, especially if it's my choice. Because man, do I need some recovery phase. But if you're there for an instant, you've been there in eternity. So
Right.
it's like no matter if you're there for an instant or you're there for an eternity, there's no time. So both are true at the same moment. So there is no like rest phase because it's an instant. You've rested for an eternity. So I see how like, oh, people are probably just coming right back down and learning their lessons. And so from that space, when you're there, you realize there's just infinite love. So I say like the fabric of the universe is sewn on the string of unconditional infinite love. And
Beautiful.
so yeah, and when you're there, you really feel it and you embody it and you're like, this is true. It's not like a question. It's not like, is this what happens in the afterlife? It's like, this is the experiential piece to fulfill that need for questions, need for answers. Like, what am I doing here? What's the point of all this? It's like, oh, in one instant, you have too much to even hold back into your human body. And so I remember feeling that kind of sense of if you were in unconditional infinite bliss for an eternity, think of how much you would crave suffering and all the kinds of suffering, every kind of sadness or darkness. Like I think about these angels sometimes when I'm just in the most wretched suffering and my heart's bleeding and I'm like brokenhearted. Like even this year was one of the most suffering I've ever experienced. And it felt like even taking a breath, it was like all my ribs were broken and I had to breathe deep. That's like the level of suffering I was at. And instead of seeing these angels look down on me with pity, I almost feel this like, man, I want to feel that. I want to feel so much, like if you were an angel and all you had was one color, one feeling, one sensation, even if it was the greatest, most expansive cellular orgasm at once, you'd want to cry, you'd want to hurt, you'd want to trip and fall, you'd want all the levels of the most uncomfortable, horrible shit that you could imagine so that you could experience the duality, so that you could see the infinite amount that universe does have to offer for us.
So
And
Cole,
so,
let me ask you,
yeah,
you've
hit me.
had one of the most difficult years in your life this past year, and we don't need to go into any details on it. We can just
Yeah.
suffice it to say that have the lessons that you've learned in that psychedelic space, whether it's mushrooms or DMT or ayahuasca or whatever else you have experienced that took you into that space, have those lessons helped you, or when you're so deep in the suffering, is it like that stuff's just out the window and you're just like, wow, this is rock bottom and I'm just groveling on the very lowest space I can go to? Tell us, what's it like?
I love you, brother. That's the right question, right? Because I've had both. I've literally had both where, especially in my earlier years, I'd have this amazing awakening, and then sometimes I'd go through a challenge a couple weeks later, and there's no grasp of it. There's no reminder of it. There's no, and I think, and I only say that because I think the human body is meant to habituate, so we do forget. Because if we remembered we were God, even when we have those moments, we kind of stop being on the ride. If we remember we architect this roller coaster, we'd know that there was a tunnel coming up. And so, if you can see behind me, I got these note cards everywhere, all over my room. Like I've been making these all year round, just needed a stable home to put them up at. So I could have these kind of constant reminders. And so for this year particularly, luckily, I've also been growing more rapidly than ever before. I'm on a 365-day yoga journey. So I've been doing yoga every single day, even when I'm on the side of the road and it's in the rain. I force myself to go do my practice anyway. And so having that at least an hour every day to my focus is the breath, my focus is the body, my focus is getting out of it. And then you do the meditation at the end. There's been a coming back to reminder every single day. And so it's been helpful. Like just that one lesson I was telling you, that was how I integrated it. Is I would sometimes I'd be having that suffering. I mean, I used to say I'm living a different version of hell every single day. And then there'd be this part of me that's like, but somehow the suffering aspect of it is optional. You can be in hell and not be on fire, or be in hell on fire and not react to it as if you're bad, you're wrong, there's something you're doing. But I also think that we need that aspect. It's highly encouraged to think that it's my fault, I did this. So in this place I took a bit of a martyr aspect in my life, a martyr. Like I can handle this. Like even my breath work yesterday, I was like, all right, God, like let me transmute some universal suffering. Let me take on the suffering of the world. And it was like this like rush of so much pain and suffering over the world, and I'm screaming it out and I'm pounding it out and I'm just trying to get it out of my body to try to like transmute it for the world. And so I think that by losing myself so much and having this other, let's just say, force try to tell me or prescribe who I am and what I am, it had to become, the distortion had to become so extreme for me to like be, okay, that is undeniably, unquestionably the farthest thing from me. And by having it be so loud and so intense, it turned itself around as this like lesson of like, okay, so now I intrinsically find out where I actually am. What have I been feeling and thinking? Like I can now not trust this force. I know that this force is false. So what is true? And then by doing that, by having it be so loud and so obviously false, it forced me to be like, what is real and true? And then start to be like, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am, and just this thing, and like recognizing that I can't find my validity from the external, even though my human design is literally saying you don't have an identity marker inside. You pick up your identity from your external circumstances. I've now figured out where the external circumstances are pointing at or expanding or even validating my identity, and where it's distorting it. So that way, the double projection of someone seeing the things in themselves that they think I'm about, but that's not where my head or my heart lies. It's just that's where their head and heart is about themselves. So they feel the need to oppress. I mean, I've kind of had the oppression of people my whole life. But again, it's all written in my human design, which I think is blown away. So sometimes I'll suffer and I'll be like, okay, this is optional. And I'm like, but it's highly encouraged, and I'll fall into it. When I was younger, I lost my mom early on. And it was back now they do like, that's what she said. Back in my day, it was, yo, mama, blah, 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 blah. And so this person would be like, yo, mama, blah, blah. And I'd be like, well, my mom actually just died. And they would double down. Oh, yeah, no wonder, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, so I'd start to cry. And then they triple down and tease me for crying. I remember it happened twice. And I was like, I'm never crying again. And I like for 20 years just basically couldn't cry. And there was like this buildup. I'd like try to cry. And as soon as I'd hear myself crying, it'd get shut down. And now this year, it's like, I've literally posted online me just like crying my eyes out and screaming and like just getting it out as like trying to model healthy masculinity and not and like use vulnerability as my superpower. And so I've been able to fall into the suffering, even like at a static dance. I've noticed my whole world shifts because I'll be like, yay, I'm ecstatic. And I'll just follow the energy. Oh my gosh, now I'm feeling this anger. And I maybe won't scream out loud, but just like that. And I'll scream and I'll punch. And then all of a sudden, oh no, I'm so sad. I like think about the suffering I went through this year and how hard it was on me. And I'll hold my little child and be like, you did so good. I'm so proud of you. And I'll just bawl and I'll bawl and I'll bawl. And I've just been able to cycle through emotions way more effectively and efficiently. And then by the end of it, I don't feel ecstatic. I don't feel depressed. I feel peace. Bro, I haven't felt peace like this because I went to the Sacred Sons men group right when all this, like the cataclysmic of everything, kind of right at the crest of it, not quite the top of the mountain of the suffering, but really at a big, near the top. I had one last final rock climb to do, but I went to the Sacred Sons, and one of the first days, the exercise was look at a man in the eyes, a stranger, and tell him, I love myself, until they believe it. And as soon as I open my mouth, I love myself, and I start laughing. And the leader, and I was really down. I didn't want to go to this men's group. I wanted to hide in a cave and die. But I knew that there was medicine there, the synchronicity of going. And the leader comes over, what was that about? And stops the whole process. Everyone gives me the mic. I'm like, he's like, come on, speak up. And I was like, well, how am I going to have him believe it if I don't believe it? And he's like, ain't that the truth? And I was like so uncomfortable. And he did this whole process, and it ended up helping a lot of people. And I don't know exactly what process unlocked it, but like letting out my primal rage, letting out my like hurt, letting like actually getting to like fight with somebody in that survival mode. But by the end of that weekend, man, I went up to that guy, looked him dead in the eyes, and I was like, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Like my intention for this 365-day yoga was self-love, but I've done self-love intentions a lot. And there's moments where I'm like, I do love myself, but it's never been authentically there like this. Just like I can feel it right here in front of my heart. Like, I love myself. I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know the purity of my thoughts and of my heart and what I'm trying to do in this world. I may trigger the fuck out of people, but maybe that's the medicine I bring for these people. I can't judge what's good for them and bad for me. All I can do at this point is be authentically me and move forward in faith that I designed this roller coaster, my beliefs that the universe is there supporting me, holding me, taking me through it, and that I literally just want to live my life in service, because when I'm not contributing to others, I don't even really want to live. So I know that there's a base root of my vibration that is here to support, uplift, and heal others, because otherwise I just go hang out with God. And that feels way better. Like I've had enough suffering for multiple lifetimes. I'm good. I was ready to kick out at 33, and instead I resurrected into Kol and this new identity, Kol, Kol, King of Love. Not because I'm better or more important, but because I have more responsibility. Can I walk through this life transmuting whatever it is back into love? Can I take someone's hate, and instead of launching back at them or instead of holding resentment, can I just be like, they mean not what they do, and then bring it back into love and just be like, I wish you well. can I have that walk sovereignty with the responsibility to reside over the kingdom with the base root of love instead of, selfishness or greed or need? Can I just like figure out who I am and then walk that path? And what do I need to do to become that and grow into that? And, your name is your most important identity marker. They say there's more Larrys who are lawyers than any other name in the world. There's more Marys married to Marty's, or I can't remember. I read this whole book about it, but the name is really powerful for you. So, yeah. So I would say that there's definite times where there's no way I can access any higher consciousness or truth. I'm way caught up in the wheelhouse. But that's why it's all about remembering. You put your underwear on in the morning, you feel it, you're there. But 5 minutes later, you don't think about your underwear the rest of the day. If there was something that you had, I don't know why I'm using underwear, but some magical gift in your underwear and you needed to remember your underwear, maybe just snapping the band of your underwear every 20 minutes would remind you of whatever lesson your underwear was providing you. And then you could tap into that frequency. You would get out of being caught up in the wheelhouse and back in being caught up in the alignment of truth. So for me, these note cards, the way I'm walking my life, my newest thing lately is my presence is healing because I'm a people pleaser and I'm always trying to juggle everyone else's emotions. If someone's down, it's my responsibility to pick them up. If someone's hurting, it's my responsibility to help out. If someone's on the side of the road and they look like they need help, I don't care if I have an appointment, I'm going to pull over and try to help them. And so there's this kind of lack of self-worth because I put those other people before me. But now it's like, if I'm passing that guy and I doesn't feel in alignment to pull over, I'll just hold presence as I pass them and I'll look them in the eyes and imagine that like their situation is resolving themselves in the way that's for their highest alignment. And maybe that is to struggle. Maybe that is to hurt. Maybe that is to feel that loneliness. I'm not God as I am living a finite experience of God. I'm living my own God. They're also living their own God.
Right.
And a lot of those awarenesses, there's things that are just stories until you embody them. And that's why I think DMT is so powerful, because it's the embodiment of truth, not hearing it and feeling the goosebumps, being God. So
now you didn't mention ayahuasca. Where does it fit in the timeline? And was
I
that
love
also a
this.
powerful experience?
Yeah, so I have one more really good DMT. It was the last time I did it. So it was ayahuasca. So I found that church that did the Bufo. I think it was almost like perfectly planned. A year later, there was a different sister church, and they do the ayahuasca. And they invited me again. I got another veteran gift, and these things were like literally two of the most beautiful, life-changing experiences of my life. Just really powerful experience. So I remember I was really nervous about ayahuasca for a long time. People throw up, they like lose their minds, because the way that it was described to me is you have to go into the jungle and get ripped apart by jaguars and eaten alive and feel every single aspect of it. But the rebirth is the most beautiful thing you'll ever experience. And I was like, damn, that does not sound like a drug I want to try. And so I remember I had a lot of resistance to it. And the thing is it was supposed to happen in June, but for whatever reason, they had to move it to May, not just May, but on my birthday. So I'm like, oh man, like I wanted to I do a lot of cleanses. I do a lot of fasts, especially around my birthday. Like I think for COVID, I did like 118-hour water fast for my birthday. So I didn't get to have any cake. I didn't get to have any food. I think my friend put a candle in an apple and we blew it out and we couldn't even eat the apples. It's like, I wanted to just have a normal birthday, but I was like, this is when the gift is. It's not free in June. It's not, and I was in a place where I didn't have any resources. So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And so I show up on my birthday for the first day. And there was another person, only person I've ever met in my life, who had the exact same birthday, who was actually there on her birthday as well. So that was really trippy to me. But, but this is a perfect example. This is great. I'm glad I brought her up, because when she was going through her experience, and you hear all these people, like they're terrorized. She said she literally went through 7 layers of hell. And each one was more torture and more like visual disgust and like scary stuff. And like, it was just like really overwhelming for her. And I'm telling her my experience, and I was going through 7 different layers of heaven. It was like the first day, it was kind of lighter. And I remember like getting some downloads and writing some stuff down and just feeling really good. But the second day was like, all right, we need to like kick it up. You know, even the shaman's like, it's gonna be heavy today. Let's get ready. And so I remember like at first I was like, very cerebral. A lot of my stuff is thinking, and then I get the feedback from the thoughts, and I can feel if it's real or true, or if the thought is like, no, that's not it. And so I remember just like writing, and mostly Mama Aya was just telling me, oh, you should give to this person, and you should do more of that for that person. And you never really did clear up that energy with that person. Reach out to them and give them a gift. And so I'm writing this down, and all of a sudden now I'm like, oh wait, I don't need to write. Mama's within me. So then I kind of release the pen. And so now my hand's doing this. Sometimes I'm just like scribbling. I'm like, oh, I'm writing ancient codes. It's like something's happening, and then I'm learning what's happening afterwards. And so there was like this really big moment. I'm filling out this like little journal that they gave me. And I remember it's getting closer and closer to the end. I'm getting more and more, like the writing's getting more and more furious. And all of a sudden it's like, Mama Gaia wants me to tell everybody that you are God. And I let go of the pen, and it's freaking levitating. I'm on the last page of the journal, and I'm like, everybody, Gaia wants you to know that you are God. And I scream out super loud. I collapse on the pen. And then all of a sudden, the facilitators run in. They grab me. They pull me out of the room. I remember feeling like so nervous about kicking over like puke buckets and cups, but I don't even remember using my feet. It was like I was now levitating, but maybe they were just lifting me off the ground. I don't know. It was really trippy. They take me outside, and I start having these 7 layers of heaven. I start first like feeling like the interconnectivity of everything, and then I start feeling the self-importance of what my mission is here to do. And even when I was a really young kid, I always kind of felt like this, again, a little bit of a martyr. Like I felt like I was here to help the world more than I was here to take from the world. I always felt like I had something to give more than to receive. And even like when I did get really religious for a while, I even used to feel envious of Jesus. Yeah, he had the most miserable day of suffering that anybody's ever, historically written about. But like, to free everybody for eternity, like, let that be me. I'll do the worst day of suffering. Let's kick it up a notch. I'll be Jesus number 2. I remember thinking that at a young age, but also feeling like, well, I can't have like a God complex. I'm not a God. I just feel like, wow, to leave like that big of a legacy, that must be the greatest thing ever. And anybody that I think leaves a huge legacy probably had very many days in hell. And so I kind of had that feeling. So now the self-importance of kind of like my ego's kicking in about like, oh, this is me and what I'm supposed to do. And I remember it got really complicated. Like, okay, I have to go to people. And it was first started with like the group. I was going to have to like tell everybody this at the group, and I was going to have to do this group circle thing. And then afterwards, my life is about going up. I put my right hand on their left shoulder. I have to look my left eye and their eye. They have to put their hand here. We have to breathe in 3 times, and then I have to send the transmission without words because words get in the way, and then they're going to get activated, and they're going to see what they're supposed to see reflected in my eyes and their soul, and then they're going to be activated, and they're going to do this. So it's like, it started getting really like, after a while, I'm like, God, this is going to be my whole life. This is going to take everything over. I'm not even really here for the ride anymore. Now I'm just here for this, like, I'm okay. Like I did want a life of service, but like there's going to be a lot of like backlash and borders to break, and it's going to be mainstream news, and they're going to try to tear me down. Then I'm going to have to like worry about the life of my family. Like it started getting so cerebral, and I was like saying, this is a lot of responsibility, Mama Gaia or Mama Aya. Like, gosh, you really want this? And then I was like, this can't be right. My brain was like, okay, hold on. It would never be this complex. If you're in complexity, you're not in truth. So hold on, and then it was like, oh, I get it. And so now I'm going through more layers of heaven until finally I realized that it's about, what if I could just think the right thought and free me? Boom! As soon as it happens, now I'm like bursted through the matrix. I'm in this whole other like realm, and I realized that I could bring everyone with me. So finally at the end, I had basically liberated not just Earth, but the whole galactic universe. And I had freed everybody. And I saw this big galactic war about to happen. Now we didn't have to happen. Now it didn't have to happen because everybody's free. And I saw so much suffering in the world. Boom, everyone was instantly free. And all these people who treated me like shit the whole time were like, bro, oh my gosh, you did it. And I was like, I told you guys I was here to love you, like unconditionally, and that I'll figure it out for us at some point. Like, and it was the most nurturing my ego could have ever received, because not only did I liberate the world, but they wanted to give me props. So it was like this really amazing thing. Like, we were all free, and that was it. Like, the world was done. I had freed everybody, and it was bliss. And so, and at one point, I'm pounding the ground so hard. Apparently, people told me later they were like 30 feet away, sitting in a tree, and they could feel the earth rumble. Like, people were calling me Hercules the next day because of how like much I was just wailing on the earth, but in like a blissful, oh my god, like, just kind of like that same screamy, excited, blast off kind of state. And here's the thing that's really weird: is all of a sudden I wake up and I'm alone. Nobody's around. I'm freezing cold, and I'm outside in the dirt. No blanket, no pillow, no like jacket. And I have to like crawl myself back into like this space and come back on this little bed, and I'm shivering. And again, now I know to ask for help. I'm like, help, help. And people are all sleeping or whatever. And I'm like, help me. And nobody's coming over except for my birthday twin. She comes over, starts putting blankets on me. It's okay. It's okay. I got you. And she's like, she just got out of her hell. So she's like super happy to be there. And the facilitator walks over and scolds her for like interacting with me, like for like interfering with my process. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to scold the facilitator. Like, no, she's the only one helping me. You don't care about me. You left me in the dirt outside. Like, basically, I was like a baby again, crying and whining. And day 3 of integration was like really taking, okay, that was a lot of ego, and like, where do I bring that ego back? How do I integrate it? But what's really interesting, I'm just going to say this because you talked about timeline shifting in the beginning of this, and lately I've been getting a lot of these Mandela effects, like on TikTok or something. It's like, it was Smokey the Bear. I know 100%, but I guess it's always been Smokey Bear, stuff like that. And there's been a ton of those lately, and every single one of them, I'm like, before he even finishes, I'm like, oh, it's this. I'll try to say it first, and yep, that's exactly what everybody remembers, and then no, and he shows the Google that it's never been that. And so I was doing this breath work yesterday, and I was really into it. I was really just power, 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 power. And I blasted through, and all of a sudden I noticed, oh my gosh, when I did free everybody and liberate everyone, it actually happened. When I came back, I was reborn, and that was in the timeline. Because I remember, uh, what's his name? The MMA fighter that does like the biggest podcast now. The what's his name? I just forgot his name. He used to
It's
do the
okay.
MM, and he used to do the Fear Factor. What's his name?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Thank you. I was like, what? Yeah, Joe Rogan was talking about how like every time we sleep, we could wake up in a different timeline. And so this was like the one time in my life that I actually thought there probably was a timeline shift, because I noticed things with my relationship really started to change at that time. Things that were like really attractive energies, or things that I felt really certain about in life, kind of seemed to like fizzle away and change. And now I'm in this other space, and I'm like, oh, wow. And so like last night I was having this, again, like cerebral, kind of egotic, but also kind of like truth feeling, at least for my conscious evolution and my roller coaster wheelhouse, was that I did actually do that. And then it's like, great, thanks for liberating everybody in that timeline. Now do it again in this one. And so it's like the work never ends, because there's unfolding multiverses and string theory just constantly engaging in each other. So even if that actually happened and I had that true experience in a universal sense, like, there's another one right behind it and interwoven in it. It's the fractal hologram. And so I feel like there's been a timeline shift, and this is my opportunity to, okay, now instead of having to do all this, what if my presence was healing? What if that's all I needed to do is know and own myself and tap into that frequency of love? So here, which is really funny, and this has been happening ever since I got here, I had a little bit bigger beard, but people come up to me like, "You look like the Papa Jesus. Oh, Papa Jesus, Papa Jesus." And they do this thing where the kids will take the elder's hand and they'll put him on the head as a blessing. So at first I'm like, all right, let me take everybody's hand that says I need to do something with this, like something that gives people life. Or, Jesus didn't heal because he's a miracle maker. He healed because they believed in his ability to be a miracle. They created their own miracles. It was their belief that facilitated the healing. So I'm like, if they're thinking I'm Papa Jesus and I do something in that moment, like maybe good will come of it. So I started taking their hands and blessing them. But a lot of times it's the younger people that are more spoken and know the better English. And my buddy's like, hey, they actually feel really uncomfortable when you do it in reverse, when the older person does it to the younger person. And at first I'm like, it's okay. I got this Jesus complex. But then I realized that that's very like culture centric and egocentric kind of like, I know what's best for them. And I'm not here to make people uncomfortable. So I switched it and I started asking some locals and they just said, why don't you just put your hand on their head and say, I bless you. And every time I've done that, they smile, they giggle, they feel nice. And it almost feels like there is like a light happening in that moment. Cause I'm like, not just doing it as a joke, I'm like getting present. I bless you. And it just, even if it's just the human touch and connection in that moment, like
Right.
it feels good for both of us. You can tell. And so I started thinking, like, okay, while I'm here at least, how would it be? What would it be like to have Jesus's heart, to have Jesus's consciousness, to walk in that path? What would I need to do to feel more Christ consciousness move through me at any moment? And so that's kind of been the presence, is like, can I be present with like the frequency of Jesus and just imagine that I'm here to walk this path of life with a pure heart and to give presence and love to people, and not be egocentric about it or think that I'm better than anyone, because we're all God. But to just be the reminder by being the reverberance, by being the embodiment, that frequency, so that I'm not teaching or proselytizing, I'm walking. And that's how we're walking on water together. I'm just walking the path and they're seeing themselves in that path, or feeling the blessing of being alive, and that's doing the healing. And so that's when I'm like, okay, I'm in a new timeline. And now the new thing isn't to just blast everybody off in one instant, but to slowly walk the path and to slowly embody this more and more, and to really slow down. I'm just like sped up all the time. Like I get really high off of doing a couple things at once. Or like, have you ever had like a busy day with a ton of errands? Like when I can do like 2 hours worth of stuff in like an hour and a half, I always feel so like high off of it. Like I just got half an hour. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to meditate or just like stare at the clouds. I could have just been walking slower and staring at the clouds and probably gotten that half hour in those 2 hours. But instead, I'm like manically getting everything done just so I can then enjoy the not doing. It's kind of funny how we play games with ourselves all the time.
So,
But
think life would be radically different for you without the experience of the medicines?
I do. I do, because I'm the guy that's going to keep asking the questions. So I'm lucky that early on in life, I got enough answers to where I wasn't kind of scattered about trying to find these answers and figure it out. I was like, oh, I've experienced it now. I can embody it. I can tune into that frequency. Sometimes when I'm like, I don't know what to do, I'll just look up to the sky and I'll imagine my galactic family sitting there, and I'll just like sometimes ask them and get some answers of what to do, or sometimes just knowing that there's support there versus like believing in it, but like knowing. There's kind of a difference between like, oh, I hope this is true versus like, this is true. And when you embody this is true and you don't want for anything, that's when the universe gives you everything. It's not, I'm going to do these practices so I can get this outcome. I'm just doing this because I'm here. What better use than my time to then go through the suffering in a way that helps other people go through suffering? Or maybe not attach personality to the suffering, but say, maybe this is the universe suffering right now. I'm transmuting. How can I turn this too into love? And kind of playing with that, it just makes, for me, it makes the normalcy or the boringness or the lack or the scarcity or whatever it is that we're so scared of having and running away from, like it makes that enjoyable too.
Love
And I
it.
don't know that I would have ever got that if I didn't have all those experiences. I still probably be wrapped up in some of my PTSD and my, small minded, just like an ant running from a magnifying glass was the way that I saw life and God. God's just fucking with us, trying to like see how we like react, and we're just like constantly running from everything. And now it's just like, all right, God, you want to magnify me and like put a hole through me? Let's see how what happened. What blessings come from that burnt or that hole? And I don't
So
I don't know that I would have gotten there if I didn't get to have those. I mean, maybe I would have. Certainly wouldn't have gotten it so young. That's for sure.
tell me, when are the 365 days of yoga complete?
Well, what's odd, so it would have been complete on December 31st, but as soon as I made this post on day 328, they did the New Year's yoga. It was a 90-minute like live version. They did it again on like November 26th or something, maybe 27th, maybe 28th. And it was whatever 328 days is into the year. I made this big post about full circle, and I can't believe through all the things I went through, and I listed a whole bunch of stuff that I went through and all this crazy suffering, and I still got on the mat every day. The next day, I was unable to get out of bed. I stood up for like half of a minute. My torso was kicked at like a 45-degree angle only, and I ended up getting the download that like not having a perfect record is also my yoga. And so I ended up having to miss 4 days. So I'm technically 4 days behind. And normally my ego would be like, I'm doing 4 yogas tomorrow so I can catch up. It's just like, bro, just walk into medicine that life is unfolding the way it should and that you're perfect whether you do 365 days in 365 days, and you do 365 days in 369 days. Nobody's going to see a difference but you, and you can let that go because that's the medicine now. That's what the universe is giving you, the medicine. Are you going to take the medicine and enjoy the suffering, or are you going to take the medicine and resist the suffering and create more suffering? Either way, it's highly encouraged. You're doing it right. You can't screw it up. You can't miss what's meant for you. So, and I think at this point, January 4th.
So you're in the Philippines. You've been there for almost a month, a few weeks at this point,
It'll be a month. This is 3 weeks on Monday, so it'll be a month this upcoming Monday.
and you didn't run away to the Philippines. You ran to find yourself there, to find your peace. What talk to us a little bit about that. We already know, without going into the details, sheer hell in the last year. It took you to like some of the lowest places,
Yeah.
and everything. And now you're in the Philippines for months.
For third world problems, I kind of had too much first world problems. I needed to go somewhere and simplify my life because I realized that I had lived 38 years of my life not even really knowing how to love myself. And now, what does life look like if I start with self love and then I move from there? And I have this gift of loving myself, and I care about myself as like the one person I'm going through life with, my best friend. I can nurture and love and hold myself in a way that no parent ever could anyway. And so it's kind of like a restart for the second half of my life, but it's also like a simplification of the noise. I had to just take a minute. I got hot water, I've got Wi-Fi, I've got a door that closes so I don't need a mosquito net, and I have air conditioning, right? That to me, I'm now a king in this region. Like I have the things that make you like royal basically in my head. Like I can afford to live and eat and breathe and survive without the constant like stress and overwhelm and oppression of like, how am I going to make it to tomorrow? How am I going to eat food tomorrow? It's like, wow, food went from $30 for a meal that doesn't make me full to like eat everything that I could possibly want and the smoothie and the extra sides, and I'm still under $20. It's it's just, yeah, I like to say I had to leave my first world problems to go adapt some third world problems just for like perspective and restart and just to catch my breath. just to like, okay, let's stop everything. Let's just get a one-way ticket to the, this is, so I've done a couple world tours. This is my favorite place that I found so far. So I'm like, let me start there. And then it's already like just in this week, it's just like opening itself up and grab me in. I've had 3 different people reach out to me to start teaching their yoga classes, their breathwork classes. And I've been listening to Panache Desai's, this spiritual talker that talks ever since COVID. And he would tell me, like, sometimes I'd be on the call with him and he'd say, there's no more like having to force life. This is your period of time where it's receiving. So I'd be like, are you sure? I don't want to like, my biggest fear in life is that I don't do enough with the gifts that I have. I don't do enough to contribute to others. I get so caught up in me trying to figure out me that like I miss helping other people. And he's like, when you let go, the universe will put you exactly where it needs to be. And it's just up to you to respond. And he said, the universe is just what's happening. You are not responsible for the universe. So in essence, spirituality is the new religion because it's us manifesting everything. I mean, I know when COVID first hit, I was so praying and desperate for a break. I thought I started it. So at the beginning of COVID, I was like, oh no, what did I do? Like, how egotistical is that? That's not spirituality. Spirituality is the dissolution, or even like more, not even the dissolution, but the harmony of the ego, because the ego has a lot of positive benefits. So I've been lately walking that path as much as possible. The only thing that I'm here to remember is my presence. And if I can continuously remember my presence, or even 3 times in a day, take that breath presence. Like I got some bells now because I had to run away to a monastery this year. And so now I have some bells every time I hear the bells. Oh, yeah, that's right. My presence. There it is. And like just by remembering that, I slow down, I savor life, I take in what's going on inside around me, and I can like feel kind of more of the senses of what's in alignment, what's out. And yeah, it's like I want to come here to get that. And then when I feel ready to come back to the US and get back into my life circumstances there, I want to want that, you know. I want to be here long enough to where I like crave going back to some of the old. And there's a part of my brain that's like, did I just move to the Philippines indefinitely? Because I just found out I thought I could only be here 2 months at a time, but this local guy is like, actually, you can keep extending for 3 years before you actually have to leave the country. And I'm like, man, then I just go somewhere else for a couple of months and come back. But yeah, I am hoping that there is something in my future that leaves a big impact. But I think intrinsically now the feeling in this timeline for me is I'm doing it every day just by remembering who I am, tapping into that like love, that responsibility of love, and just being present with it, looking people dead in the eyes, knowing that I love myself and gifting them that opportunity to love themselves. Because I see myself in everybody now, at least some way. I am God, you are
Right.
God. I can look you in the eyes and be like, I love myself, so you can love yourself, and I love you because you were me. And just like that, feeling that, but without words, without actually having to think about it, just taking the breath and being totally present with somebody, and that's like the resonance that you have.
Well,
So I'm here to learn how to embody that as often as possible, and then see if I can actually just like walk it, like walking
right.
on water, being so present with I'm lighter than air that I can physically walk on water. I'm not trying to physically do it. It's a metaphor for kind of what I'm trying to do here is like be that Christ heart of just like pure unconditional love for people and acceptance of where they're at without falling into their snares and traps, feeling, okay, this person's a little off. I'm going to love them from over here,
Right.
like
Right.
I'm going to love them from a safe distance for me, not just like, here's everything. I'm just being completely, used by everybody. But no, I'm loving myself first. So I take care of this. And then from there, I can better take care of others. Before all this stuff was just words, but now it's a felt sense. It's this journey I've been on with these lessons and these experiences that have now it's like, I would love to have another Bufo experience and kind of get some information about this last year and what it all really meant and what I needed to do with it. But like, I also, now that I didn't get that experience and I have been going through and wanting that, but then realizing I got the answers, I got the awarenesses. And just by having that, it's almost like I can go there myself. Like after you have a vibration and you know what it feels like, it's like you can kind of bring yourself there.
Right.
I could just do a meditation or a really intense breath work, and it's like I'm on DMT, getting the same kind of answers and awarenesses. And but I don't know that I would have been connected to that in the same way if I didn't actually get it to synthesize it myself and take it and feel that level. Because even though I've had ecstatic bliss states, I've definitely never had a full-on blown DMT experience, and I don't know that I ever would have if it wasn't for taking the medicine.
Right.
That's why
Well, I
as
have
soon as
to.
I saw this thing, I'm like, I am so down to share my stories because all my stories are really freaking positive. I didn't,
Yep.
I'm sure you got people on here that are like, yeah, I did get eaten by the jaguars and it was the most painful experience of my life. And even the shamans, like if you're told to die, you need to just die. It's when people resist dying and try to fight dying that brings them all the suffering in the medicine. If God's saying die, just lay down and die because the rebirth is what it's all about. People resist that death and then they suffer more.
Well, interestingly enough, I haven't had people sharing the jaguar shredding them or
Oh,
just like the bad trip stories. And maybe that's well, like energy attracts like energy. I haven't had
I
those
was gonna say.
stories. But
Okay.
I do want to say that I am grateful and that our timelines intersected when they did. Maybe we'll
Me
figure out
too.
the exact time that happened, but certainly from Burning Man 2011 on.
Dr.
Um,
Dream's Love Angel for my first Burning Man
right?
at the Red
Dr. Dream and
Lightning
his band of
tent.
angels, and you were in the band of
Oh, it was
angels.
insane.
That's awesome. It's
During the
nice
rites
to,
of passage, the last Burning Man before it got all complicated with the lottery, I was like, I'm going every year. And then the lottery came out, and I was like, man, I'll just wait until this lottery thing's over, and they're still doing it.
I know, right? Well, it's nice to catch up like this, and I thought we
Yeah.
were going to do this conversation a couple months ago. You were going to be in the States, and then all of a sudden on
Yeah.
Facebook I see that you're in the Philippines. I'm like, what the like? Geez, he was just here. So this has been awesome. I love the stories. More than the stories, I love the result of the stories and the
Mm.
realizations that it brings you. And obviously, the medicines have and your process with them have served you on the highest level. Nobody's going to be able to listen to or watch this without feeling that energy from you.
Well, I
And
hope it
so,
served everybody on the highest level, right?
yeah,
Especially in
I
the
mean,
old
that's,
timeline.
and then it just seems appropriate to close out with namaste. The God in me
Oh,
sees and honors the God in you. And I think that's as appropriate for this episode as anything could be. With tremendous gratitude, love, and respect for you, Cole. Thank you so much for being a guest on the DMT Chronicles,
my
and we'll
pleasure.
look forward to an update as things progress. It may be in another country, it may be here in the United States, or it may be part two from the Philippines.
Yeah, it could, who knows? It could be anywhere in the world. I have infinite freedom now. I have infinite possibilities. They say when you're uncertain, anything's possible. When you're certain, only that one thing could be possible. And I was certainly giving everything to that one thing. And now that that one thing is gone, it's like, well, who am I? How do I write my story? How do I find? I used to be like, oh, I'm bad with boundaries. Now it's like I'm learning how to be amazing with boundaries. Like I just changed the script. I used to be so caught up in the story that I used to tell, but I realized that is the victimization of my life. Even if I don't feel victimized, I feel like I've empowered myself. Telling the story is the victim story. So there is no more story. There is no more what happened. There's just what's happening. It's
Right.
like, how do we walk in that and unfold who we are in the now because it's ever changing. It's the only thing that exists is now.
I
So I
love
like
that.
that. And we do namaste laughter. I do laughter, so it's namaste. Just to bring it back to the cosmic laugh.
I love it. Cole, thank you so much. I
Thank
will
you,
keep in
brother.
touch with you while you're going through the experience there. Have a great time kiteboarding and
Yeah.
everything else. The pictures of the beach and the water and everything look amazing. Thank goodness you have air conditioning, hot water, a
Yeah.
door that closes. My goodness, you've
I'm
made
a
it.
king.
You've made it.
I'm a king. I've made it.
Love you,
Yes,
brother. And
brother.
on behalf of
Love
the
you
DMT
too.
Chronicles, thank you.
Thank you too. Blessings, guys.